Hi, welcome to Pulse Check, where we have quick conversations about how to help Alabamians live healthier lives. Today's guest is someone I genuinely feel lucky to know and work with. Dr. Sharlene Newman is not only an incredibly accomplished cognitive neuroscientist who is leading groundbreaking research on how the brain works and is serving as the executive director of the Alabama Life Research Institute at the University of Alabama, she's also one of the kindest, most humble, hardest working people you'll ever meet. What I love most about Dr. Newman is that despite everything she's achieved, she has this rare ability to make complex ideas feel approachable and to connect her work back to real people and real lives. She's passionate about making a difference, not just through research, but through the impact that research has on communities. I'm so excited for you to hear from her today as we talk about how our brains really work and what that means for all of us. Welcome, Dr. Newman.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just jump right in. You've spent your career studying the brain. What's something most people completely misunderstand about how their brain works?
Misunderstand. I think the thing that sometimes people take for granted is that it's going to always be there and work, and that we don't have to necessarily take care of it, right? So it's just another part of your body. Like you have to take care of your heart, you have to take care of your brain. And actually, taking care of your heart takes care of your brain, right? So your brain is just another part of your body, and everything that you do affects it. And I think it's really just understanding that it's really just another part of your body that you have to nurture and take care of.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We do take it for granted because from our earliest memory, it's always been there. And for most of it, it's always worked. Your research has looked at everything from language to addiction. What's one area that surprised you most about how the brain works?
I think maybe the thing that maybe not surprises me the most, but that fascinates me the most is just how different everyone's brain is, right? So everyone has their own sort of unique brain, even though we all have the same structure, and the function of those structures are similar. They're also quite different from each other. And so I'm a cognitive neuroscientist who uses MRI, and so I look at human brains like all the time. And one of the things that you notice is that every brain looks different. So they're shaped slightly different. But in addition, they function slightly different. So I think one of the things that really drew me into cognitive neuroscience is science and studying how the brain works is really the differences between like me and my siblings, right? So same parents, same household. I struggled to learn to read. I was great at math, but I couldn't read. My younger siblings could read better than I could. And so it was always this things like, why is my brain so different than their brain? Why are they so different? And so I got to sort of understand and study those differences and where those differences come from and why, not necessarily the sort of root of why, but in some ways sort of getting at the why our brains are
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, because they say that your siblings, you have the closest DNA to your siblings than you do to anybody on earth, right? Like
Mhm.
almost matching DNA. But yet, to your point, we're so different physically, our brains are different. But that sounds like it's a good place to start, like right there at home.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that we need to take care of our brains in the same way that we take care of our heart and our bodies in general. Are there simple things that people can do in their everyday lives to improve how their brain functions, like focus, memory, and learning?
Yeah. So the first thing that I tell people to do to take care of their brains is to want to use it. So I know it sounds like funny, but it's really to exercise it, to learn new things all the time, right? So not to keep doing the same things every day over and over again, but your brain really sort of thrives on new, right? So learning new things. Like if you like to ballroom dance, try, salsa. Like it's you can still stay within the sort of same area of your interest, but try something different that makes your brain work harder. So you want your brain to be constantly creating new connections.
Right.
The thing about our brains is that we don't necessarily get lots of new brain cells, but we're always making new connections between those cells. And those connections are really important, especially as we age,
Mm,
because the more connections you have, you're going to lose them as you age, right? But the more the more that you have, then the more that you have to sort of sort of work information, right? And so it's really about learning new things. I know a lot of people, older people hear that they should do the crossword puzzle, right? But that's the same thing every day, right? So it's not as though it's, bad, but I think it's the really just going out into the world and learning something completely different that challenges how you think, help you make those new connections. Those things are really the most important thing you can do for your brain.
Right.
On top of, again, keeping your heart, your cardiovascular system healthy is really important, because your brain needs blood. And if those vessels aren't getting blood to your brain the way they should, then you're putting your brain at risk. So it's a combination of those things.
Yeah. So your heart, a healthy heart can help feed your brain, right?
Right,
In that
right,
way, sending fresh blood to
right,
your brain so that those neural pathways um, can continue to connect.
right. And I think for Alabama, in particular, because we're part of what is referred to as the stroke belt, right? So, and what that means, we have high rates of stroke in the state. And stroke is really a cardiovascular disease that affects the brain, right? So you have because blood is toxic to brain cells, you have a stroke is because you have blood that is now leaking from blood vessels onto brain, and causing damage. And so stroke is really about your cardiovascular health, right? So it's making sure that you're taking care of your whole body, which takes care of your brain.
You mentioned a few tips. I love the tip of if you already like to dance one way, like ballroom dancing, you can stay in that lane, just pick a different type of dance.
Hmm.
I'd also heard, drive home different routes every
Yeah.
once in a while, brush your teeth with your opposing hand once in a while, and, just some little everyday things like that too. So that's really cool.
Hmm.
Well, we hear a lot about multitasking. Everybody's got a million things on their plate in this day and age. It seems like we're always busy. But how does the brain actually handle that? Does the brain handle multitasking well, or are we making things harder for ourselves?
Yeah, so multitasking is something I think we all think that we can do and do well. And up to a point we can, right? So if you're doing two tasks where one of them is somewhat automatic and we sort of know how to do it and we don't have to put a lot of resources, devoted to it to do it, then we can do that kind of multitasking. Um, the example I like to give is like, yes, we can all walk and chew gum, right? But when you start walking up a rocky hill where you have to pay attention to where you put your steps, you stop chewing.
Yeah.
Right? So when things get really difficult, then no, we can't multitask anymore. We do one thing. Another example that I really like to give is like when you're driving and you can have the radio on and have a conversation, but as soon as you hit city traffic and you have to exit or something, everybody's got to be quiet. Okay. I can't focus on you and the road at the
Right.
same time, right? So yes, we can do it up to a point. And then once we sort of hit that point, then we have to do one thing or the other. And we also just need to think about as we get older, we have fewer resources to devote to multiple things, and so then can become a problem to try to multitask. So we just need to pay attention to, how much resources we have, how much attention we have to devote to multiple things, and once that starts to decline, then we need to pull back on on trying to do this multitasking.
Your traffic story reminds me of that meme that says, "Turn the radio down. I can't see. I can't see my
Exactly.
exit. Or I can't." That reminds me of that.
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned aging and how that can change our ability to multitask or do other things with our brain. But what about how do things like sleep, stress, or even screen time affect our brain?
Yeah. So, I think it's you go back to that old adage, right? So everything in moderation. Mm. So
Mm,
if we have too much stress and it's chronic and it's constant, then one of the things that happens when you're under a lot of stress is you have these stress hormones that get released and they're sort of having you like on go, like you're in that fight or flight sort of mode
Right.
all the time. And those chemicals are not designed to be in your body all the time. So they're
Mhm.
supposed to just spike and then you calm down and it goes. So if you're in chronic stress, then that's affecting your brain. It's affecting your whole body, but it's definitely affecting your brain.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure you're managing stress appropriately, right? And so I always talk to people about making sure you're managing stress in a healthy way because a lot of us, including myself, and I'm always sort of trying to fight it, we go to the ice cream or the cookies when we get stressed, right? Instead of going for a walk.
Right.
So we need to think about stress is a big one that we need to sort of think about. In terms of how much screen time is healthy for your brain, I think a lot of studies are now coming out showing that especially for young people, too much screen time is a really big problem.
Mhm.
And a lot of what is showing is an effect on attention. And one of the things that I've even noticed in interacting with some young kids who like really spend a lot of time like on scrolling on YouTube or scrolling on Twitter is that they can't sit and watch a Disney movie at one time, right? So
Mhm.
this is really affecting their ability to sit down and focus on one thing and pay attention to what's going on, which makes me sort of really my heart goes out to teachers trying to trying to teach them in the
Navigate.
classroom because it's really a problem. But it's not just young kids, adults also sort of express the same concern when they're on
Mhm.
Twitter for, any amount of time that they feel that their attention span has gotten shorter. So it's definitely something we need to kind of think about is how much we should be on our phones, and how much we should be giving our children our phones to keep them quiet. But those things are just things we need to think about. What is it doing to brains long term?
Right, right. Well, it's definitely robbing from us our ability to just be bored. And really, our own human creativity comes from
Right.
those moments of boredom. I remember kicking a pine cone down the street with friends because that's what was available. So, that's some things we would do, or picking up a stick and playing with it in
Hmm.
different ways. So, that is really interesting and something to watch out for sure.
Hmm.
Well, what's one thing that a person listening or watching this today could either stop or start right now if they wanted to take better care of their brain?
Um, I think the one thing that they can do to take better care of their brain, I would say would be to take better care of your body in general and managing
Mm,
stress in healthy ways, right? And I say focusing, and I want to focus on stress because if you're doing healthy things to manage stress, then you're going on walks and you're and you're having conversations with trusted friends. So you're building social networks and so you're doing lots of things that makes your brain sort of happy and healthy.
yeah,
And so I would say do a better job of managing stress and do all those sort of healthy things around managing stress. And I say that because everything that you do when you're younger, everything that you experience when you're younger, you pay for on the other end. Right. And
yeah.
so it's
And you don't
really
realize
about
it until you get to the
you
other side.
don't realize it. But it's also thinking about like, what toxins, what chemicals you're exposed to as well, because some of those, again, everything you're exposed to, you pay for on the other end. So it's,
Right.
it's thinking about all of those things. But honestly, I think because if you're managing I keep going back to stress because if you're managing stress better, then you're also controlling your blood pressure and your blood sugar and and you're on all of these things are all connected. I think that's the thing that people forget is that hypertension, diabetes, they're all connected to dementia later. And
Yeah.
so you need to control all of these things because they're harming your brain in small ways that add up over time.
So taking a walk is better than doing a crossword puzzle.
I'm not gonna say it's better. It's different.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
It's
Well,
different.
taking care of your body and making sure that you're keeping your stress levels down, those things in the physical, in
Mhm.
the long term are more, you might say, as important
That's important.
as switching the hand that you brush your teeth with.
Yeah, yeah, I think you need to do but because again, when you're switching the hand that you brush your teeth with, you're creating new connections, right? And
Gotcha.
so when you're taking care of your body and keeping your blood pressure and your blood sugar under control, you're saving connections,
Yes.
right?
Gotcha.
So you need to do both of those things.
Oh, that's a good way to think of it. Like like saving money and earning money are different, but both important.
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay. Well, where is brain research headed, and what's something exciting or important that people should know about the future of this field?
I would say in terms of where brain research is going, I have no idea. So, because there's so many options. There's lots of research looking at like brain computer interfaces and being able to control devices with brain, and that's really sort of exciting and fun. There's also a lot of work trying to understand better different diseases, especially neurodegenerative diseases and developmental disorders, to help sort of improve those outcomes. And that's also
Yeah.
so there's lots of. I think the thing about neuroscience that's exciting for me is that even though we've learned so much about the brain, there's so much we don't know. And so I have no idea where we'll end up. But it's exciting. For
Right.
sure, it's exciting.
Okay. Very cool. That your comment reminds me of how people talk about the ocean, how we know more about space than we know about the ocean. And we might know more about the ocean than we even know about the brain. There's a lot to it.
There's so much because we don't know how and this is a whole different conversation, right? So how the mind emerges from brain, right? So there's just so much that we don't understand,
Right.
which is exciting because we don't know where we're going to end up because we have no idea.
Very cool.
Um, yeah.
Well, is there a question that you thought I might ask or you hoped I would ask, but I didn't?
No, I think you covered everything that
Yeah,
that I can think about.
that's good. That's fair.
Yeah,
I do have
I think maybe the thing, that I would like to end on is, promoting the field, right? So, getting kids really interested
good.
in
Right.
neuroscience is a passion of mine, or at least being curious about how their own brains work, even
Right.
if they don't end up being a neuroscientist. And so, I encourage kids to look up things, and if you're going to be on YouTube, look up YouTube videos about
Right. Right.
neuroscience.
So we need more scientists. We need more
We need more
researchers.
scientists. Yes.
Well, I did have a last question I wanted to hop back over really quickly. If there was only one thing that you wish more people across Alabama understood about brain health, and you had to distill it down, what would it be? One piece of final thought.
I think the thing that I would like the people in Alabama to understand about brain health is that you do have control over it.
Huh.
Right?
Oh, very cool.
You have agency, right? You can determine um, a lot about how your brain works. You can control quite a bit about how those outcomes. Everything, of course, is not under your control, but a lot of it is, and you're not sort of destined for anything, right? So it's really understanding how much agency you have and to use it.
I love that. I love that. That's really good. Well, thank you for sharing today, Dr. Newman. Is there a website or a place where people can learn more about your work or just learn how to take better care of their heart and their body so that they can take better care of their brain? Where should they go?
So there are a couple of places you can go. You can go to ALRI ua.edu, the Alabama Life Research Institute webpage, which has links to some other pages, including our West Alabama Cardiac Health Program watch, which has lots of good information about cardiovascular health. So those are the two places that I would recommend you check
Awesome.
out.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, if you've enjoyed this and you want to learn more or hear more stories like Dr. Newman and others, you can check out alabamapulsemagazine.com. And if you would like to share with me who else we should interview and talk to, any other topics you might be interested in, I'd love you to drop a comment. Thanks. And thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.